Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over a quaint and curious number of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each severed dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whose the angels nameless here, forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "oh madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was nearly napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbrokenness, the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo muttered back the word "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber tearing, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely there is something at my window lattice. Let me see then, and thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Here I flung the shutter, when with many a flit and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of palace just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Thou thy crest shall be worn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghostly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, relevance bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven sat lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered. 'Tis I scarcely more than uttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Started at the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken. "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs of burden bore. 'Tis the dirges of his hope and the melancholy burden bore, of nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking with this ominous bird of yore, with this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore, meant in croaking, "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, till the fowl of those fiery eyes now burned in my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, with the lamplight gloated over, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating over, she shall press, ah, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, by the heaven that bends above us, by the God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, with the distant Ardennes, as it shall clasp the sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whose the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrink upstarting, give thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token that lie there soul hath spoken. Leave thy loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on that pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight over him streaming through his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.